What's going on, everybody? It's Cooper with Coops Hoops, and today I was just going to give my Eastern Conference Finals predictions, or I guess my Eastern Conference Finals preview for you guys. No, it's been a while, but I want to get back to making these videos. So, to start, I got some stuff in my notes just about each team and some stats and whatnot. But I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter, Instagram, just all the social medias, where there's these bigger name journalists and whatever, or even just fans saying that the Pacers versus Knicks like matchup in an Eastern Conference Finals is like bad for basketball. And I couldn't like, as a basketball fan, I couldn't disagree more. I think this is like, if you were to ask me, well, probably that's not true. Um, I probably would say the Knicks to like get to the Eastern Conference Finals would be like my dream. If you were to ask me at the start of the playoffs, I don't know if I would have said the Pacers, but watching the Pacers in the playoffs has like, and even last year too, it's just completely opened my eyes to what a fun team this is to watch. I mean, it's so fast paced, so much offense. So I think looking at it too in a historical context, I mean, this is a great matchup for basketball. So I'm excited for that. And something else I think is there's a lot of like, oh, the parody era of basketball in the NBA, and it's like, God, it's ruining this. There's no like teams to root against or hate watch or whatever, like the Warriors or the Heat back in the day. I guess that was like 10 years ago, but so people are looking at it as like, oh, I'm not a huge fan of the parody era. I think it's awesome. I mean, obviously I'm going to give you my prediction of what I think is going to happen at the end of the series, right? But I don't know. This series could go either way, and that's the same with the Western Conference too. So let's get into some of these stats. Just to look at some stuff, just to make an educated guess on who's going to win the series. Something that stood out to me for the Pacers is that they have an offensive rating of 117.3, which is the best out of the teams left in the playoffs. So we know the Pacers as this offensive juggernaut going up and down the court so fast, chucking up a ton of, good looks, probably not great looks, but good looks. And they don't settle for a ton of, I would say, shots where I look at the TV and go like, what are you doing? So they take amount of good shots, and I like that. And their defensive rating is 111.9. So I think the Thunder and the Knicks have a better defensive rating, and that our teams left in the playoffs. I think the Timberwolves are the only team that don't have a better defensive rating than them. Which, I mean, their plus minus obviously in the net rating is 5.5. So they're winning these games by a decent margin. And we saw a lot of this, oh, what's my identity as like a Pacers team in this Cavs series, right? In the first half, a couple of those games, they end up going down, 20 or however many points, they come back and winning. Um, and I think they didn't find their identity. They just realized that they need to be able to play this basketball for 4 quarters, right? If they want to go and, make a finals run or even beat the Knicks. So something else that stood out was they're shooting 40% from 3 on 35 attempts, I think. Yeah, 35 attempts, right? I mean, that's an amazing percentage at a pretty high clip. And if they want to win this series, they're going to have to continue to shoot like that. And then this is a stat that I had no clue. And maybe it's skewed because some of their games haven't been the closest. But their starting lineup, so Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, and Tyrese Halliburton have a net rating of 22.1. So that's, I mean, their starting lineup against the Cavs was lethal, right? And I think that's one of the biggest advantages they have with the Knicks is the Knicks starting lineup's net rating is actually negative. It's like a negative 4.7. And I mean, net rating's not everything, right? The eye test tells you that their starting lineup's actually been pretty good. But I think that starting lineup, their net rating being so high is just when those guys are out on the court, right? That they're balling. Something that the Knicks have struggled with in the playoffs so far have been turning the ball over. And the Pacers do a great job of capitalizing off turnovers and getting great looks in transition as they run and they get out and play super fast pace, right? And some of those things are like actual live ball turnovers, which the Knicks struggle with is they, have these live ball turnovers, but I don't know. They obviously don't classify these as turnovers, but there's a lot of, I want to call them like chucks that the Knicks will take. Like, I think it was in game 6 against the Celtics, like Cat's taking logo threes, right? I think he ended up being like 1 for 7. He took like 3 logo threes. And I'm looking at the TV being like, why is that the shot we take? And I mean, I almost consider that a live ball turnover, right? Because it's long shot, long rebound, right? And you're giving the other team an opportunity to go get a long rebound and then push in transition when you have a guy like Josh Hart or if Mitchell Robinson's in the game, right? They're both crashing the offensive glass every possession. So now if the Pacers get that board and Josh Hart doesn't fly in there and get it, right? They're running 5-on-3 the other way. And the Pacers are really good at that, right? So I think the Knicks need to limit what they're doing there with those bad shots and try to work for great shots, not good shots, right? Um, and then I think the Pacers, if they're able to turn the Knicks over, like I was just talking about, if they're able to turn them over and get those things, they have a huge advantage in that category, and it'll play into their Pacers brand of basketball, right? Which they need to play to win this series. And you saw that like with the Cavs, they would get these leads on the Pacers, right? When they would force the Pacers to play some sort of half court basketball. And I think they know that. And I think the Pacers will hopefully try to just get up and get going. And they have, I mean, they're playing like 10 guys so far in this playoffs, right? So they have the ability to go out there and, run these teams off the court. And I think that's what they need to do to be able to go out there and win the series. I think the biggest thing the Pacers are going to struggle with in this series is going to be like, where do we go if we're not shooting the ball well, right? Is Tyrese a number one option? Who do we go to? It's like Andrew Nembhard is a career playoff riser, and he's able to hit those tough shots like he did against the Cavs, that little sidestep deep three that he had on the wing, right? And I think if the Knicks force him to play some sort of one-on-one basketball, right, the Pacers will struggle there because they don't really have, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's amazing, don't get me wrong, right? But he has those stretches and those points where he decides that he needs to be a, facilitator over a scorer, right? So if he's not looking to be a scorer, which he needs to be, right? They're way better when he's looking to score. Even if he's not getting to the rim to go score, right? He's getting to the rim to go create opportunities for his teammates, but sometimes he's getting to the rim and he's not even looking to, like, he's not even looking at the rim to go score, right? So it's not hard to tell, oh, he's passing the ball, right? So he needs to at least look at the rim and try to get there and then find his teammates to create this sort of like false, oh, Tyrese might go score, right? If I'm Cat, if I'm Mitchell Robinson, if I'm Josh Hart and help, right? I need to at least think that he's going to go try to finish at the rim, not 2-foot jumping out of the air, right, and trying to fire over to someone else without even looking at the rim. So I think if he looks at the rim, they'll be okay. But I think he might struggle there if they make him play some one-on-one ball against these like really good perimeter defenders like OG and Mikal Bridges. So moving on to the Knicks, their advanced stats aren't going to tell the whole story because they have like an offensive and defensive net rating of 110. They're both the same. And it's like they're playing these close games. And I mean, other than the Warriors and the Rockets, right, they probably had like the toughest first round matchup against a good, young, hungry Detroit Pistons team, right? And then they're going against, the defending champions and the Celtics in the second round. Obviously, Jason Tatum gets injured. But they're still having to play a great team, right? So their net ratings and the advanced stats might not tell you a lot, right? But the eye test of watching the Knicks in this playoff run has told you these are real contenders, right? They check all the boxes. I mean, they have a go-to number one guy, a certified superstar in the league. They have big wings that are good defenders that can knock down a shot, right? They have a good number two in Cat, and then they have your all-out effort guy in Josh Hart, sorry. And Tibbs is going to go out there and run his guys, and those guys in general, I mean, they're winning games, right? Whether that's on the defensive side of the ball with Mikal Bridges against the Celtics, finishing those two games with defensive stops, or that's the offensive side of the ball with, the clutch player of the year in Jalen Brunson. They have all the tools to make, a championship winning team. So, like we mentioned earlier about something that the Pacers might be able to capitalize on is this turnover issue. And I think, I hope the coaching staff over in New York understands that, right? And I think they'll actually limit those turnovers. They can kill two birds with one stone, right? If they limit their turnovers and are able to play some sort of half-court basketball, right? Both of those things are wins for the Knicks, right? They are able to, take the Pacers away from Pacers basketball, right? And they're also able to go out there and play their brand of basketball, which is Jalen Brunson coming off one or two screens from different guys to match up Hunt and, get on the matchup he wants and then go score, right? So I think some of the places where the Knicks have the advantage is obviously rebounding. Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, when they're on the court together, have unlocked a whole new level to this team because their rebounding is just so amazing, right? They're able to create so many more opportunities, and they're able to basically just wreak havoc. Even on the defensive side of the ball, it's like the other team's not getting any extra possessions. So, yeah, Mitchell Robinson's a huge key in this series Can he make free throws? Can he continue to play as well as he has so far in the playoffs? And then this is just some random thing that I found, this little thing, which might not play a big role, but I thought it was very interesting. So the lineup of OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, and Miles McBride have played 35 minutes together. Okay, so that's the least amount of like any, consider like obviously not these garbage time lineups, but it's the least of like any of these like lineups with starters in them in the playoffs so far. So they played 35 minutes in the playoffs so far, right? They have a net rating of 33.7. So Tibbs, he's been doing better in this playoffs, like specifically not just being like, okay, I'm running these 5 guys to the ground and they're gonna, play as hard as they can and then hopefully not injure themselves, right? And he's been doing a better job. However, like I don't see a world where this lineup of, OG, Josh Hart, Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, and Miles McBride go out there. And I mean, Deuce is a great player, don't get me wrong, right? But he's not getting the sort of PT that he'd probably get if he was playing for like a Pacers who are running 10 guys, right? But that net rating of 33.7 is like kind of eye-opening, something to think about if you were Tibbs. And then another lineup thing is when Mitch Rob comes in for Cat. So whether that's like Cat getting in foul trouble or they just make a sub, right? They have the best defensive rating in the league, the Knicks do, when Mitch Rob comes in for Cat, and it's that starting lineup. So OG, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, and Mitch Rob have the best defensive rating in the playoffs so far. So I mean that line has been stifling, and we've seen that in a couple of the series. So kind of like combining the two now, give them some sort of my predictions, right? If the Pacers can play their brand of basketball and shoot at the clip that they've been shooting at so far in this playoffs, I think they win this series, right? They do a lot of things well in their defense. I mean, I think they've been a top 4 defense since the All-Star break, right? Their defense has been amazing. And if they can go out there and run and get good shots and shoot 40% from behind the arc, they're going to be able to go out there and win every single game in this series, right? They're going to be in every single one. So if they can do that, I think they win. However, Jalen Brunson, like naturally as a player, the Pacers haven't really faced a Jalen Brunson to me yet. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, right? He's amazing and was giving them 50s, right? But Jalen Brunson is just a whole different beast to me. Is Donovan Mitchell better than Jalen Brunson? I mean, that's a debate to have, right? But his Jalen Brunson's pace of play, I would say, is just way different than Donovan Mitchell. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's like a freak athlete. Jalen Brunson's not. But as I said earlier, like Jalen Brunson likes to come off multiple screens. So, I mean, he's coming off 1 or 2 screens to get the matchup that he wants. And I think that matchup in this series is probably going to be Miles Turner. And he's a great shot blocker, but guarding Jalen Brunson on the perimeter for multiple possessions, 1 is tiring, 2 is hard, and 3 you just can't. Like we've seen that so far in this playoffs and last playoffs, and even during the season, it's almost impossible to guard Jalen Brunson 1-on-1. So that'll be an interesting matchup to see, and that's if the Knicks can get to the Jalen Brunson 1-on-1 ISO stuff, it normally gets to like about 8 seconds left in the shot clock every single time that he gets his matchup. Right, so if he's getting that matchup that he wants with a Miles Turner or whoever they decide is the guy they want to guard Jalen Brunson 1-on-1, I think that just plays into the Knicks' hands because not only is your best offensive player going to the rim every single possession or hitting, try to hit open threes, right? You're also slowing down the pace of the game. So if they can get to that, it plays into the Knicks' hands, and that'll be interesting to see. And then something else, I think Tyrese. He's a different matchup for Cat than Jason Tatum was, right? Jason Tatum was settling for the sidestep threes, the step back long 2s, the spin post fades. Like he's settling for these tough shots. And as I mentioned earlier, like Tyrese, he's going to put his head down. He's going to get to the rim. He's going to create for his teammates. Now the question is he going to be able to get there and go score? Hopefully, yes. And that will make the series better if he does look to score, right? The Knicks will have a heavy advantage if he just becomes the Tyrese Halliburton. That's the playmaker, not the Tyrese Halliburton that's a scorer. So we'll see what happens to Cat. And as we know, I mean, he has this record of being, a guy that's getting into serious foul trouble early in the game. And I think Tyrese will force some sort of, not issue, but like he'll force Cat to play defense. And I feel like Jason Tatum was kind of playing right into what Cat needed to. And Cat's been a great defender 1-on-1 in the playoffs so far, don't get me wrong. But I think Tyrese is a very different matchup for Cat this series. So And then if I'm being honest, Cat and Miles Turner almost like cancel each other out in this series. I think Cat obviously has a bigger role on his team, but I think both of those guys, like plus minus wise, if you like add them together, I feel like they'll kind of just be like a zero, right? Even if Cat puts up a 35 piece, right? Miles Turner has a great effect on the floor. So let's just say we take those out of the game, right? I think this series comes down to like three things. Okay. So, first one, can the combination of Andrew Nemhard and Aaron Nesmith play like good point of attack defense on Jalen Brunson, like slow him down? You're not going to stop him, right? But can you slow him down? Can you make him take tough shots? And the tough shots that he does take, can they be long step back / fading twos instead of, step in threes? Because even if he only shoots, let's just say 3 for 12 from three, right? But you're not forcing him to take these long twos. He's still winning to me in that sort of scenario. So can those two combine? And Andrew Nemhard's a like career playoff riser, and he's been playing amazing in this playoffs. So can those two guys as a combination, which I'm assuming that Jalen Brunson's going to see a combination of the two throughout the game, and you might even see some Obi Toppin to give some size, which Obi Toppin's not the greatest defender on the perimeter, but I think he might see some Obi Toppin just because he's athletic, and it might even be just like a 2-minute, 3-possession stint of just seeing some size and some athleticism for Jalen Brunson. I think would be a good idea for, if I'm Rick Carlisle on the Pacers. And like we mentioned earlier, can Cat stay out of foul trouble? He's been doing a great job so far. Can he do it again? And then can Tyrese Halliburton be a true number one, right? Can he go score, create for his teammates, not be a cone on defense, right? So far this playoff, he's been better than he has been in the past, but can he make an impact on the defensive side of the ball and then also just go score and create? He's not going to be able to have these games where he puts up 9 points and 13 assists and still have the Pacers go and win this series. He's going to have to put up those 20 and 10s, those 25 10s and 5s. These good games if they want to go and win this series. But if I was to give you my final prediction, I would probably say Knicks in 6, and that's because I feel like if these games come down to clutch games, so within 5 points in the last 5 minutes, the Knicks just have the advantage, and we saw the Pacers can close out these games, but I think the momentum of the Pacers coming back in those Cavs games when they were down 20 and they came back and win, right? It was so fast-paced. They remember that their identity is this transition-based team, and they were able to just go and, kind of shoot the Cavs out of the gym. So it comes down to, for me, like, when these games get to, Knicks are down by 3, Knicks are up by 3 with 5 minutes to go, right? Jalen Brunson will naturally slow down the pace of the game, as we mentioned. And can the Pacers execute in the half court and be able to go and like win these close games? And I think the Knicks just have a super heavy advantage because Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, I mean, they're going to be gassing Tyrese Halliburton, and they don't have. I mean, Andrew Nemhard's going to be able to make some shots, right? But is he that number one go-to guy in the clutch? No. So that'll be interesting to see, but I think that gives the Knicks just the biggest advantage. Jalen Brunson's the clutch player of the year. These close games, I think the Knicks are going to go out there and steal them from the Pacers. And the Pacers have a great home court advantage, right? But I think the Knicks are composed enough to be able to go and win those games. So, yeah, final prediction: Knicks in 6. Jalen Brunson, I think will take over in this series, and yeah, that's what I think for the Eastern Conference Finals. If you enjoyed, give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment of some of your guys' opinions. I want to know what you guys have to say. And yeah, it's good to be back.